a couple more people that are registered, but I think what we'll do is, for the sake of respecting everyone's time, we'll get started. And we do record this too as well. This is the second one of a 7 Zoom series that we're doing this year. We're going to do 4 of them through the spring each month, and then we're going to follow up with 3 coming in the fall, because during the late spring through summer months, we get pretty busy. So I don't get an opportunity to do this so much during the summer months. But we're just out here to kind of help guide every step of the way. We have different topics throughout, and like I said, is like even one of the sellers that I spoke to today, he told me you couldn't make it, and I told him that no worries, I'll record it and send it over to you, and he was pretty psyched about that, so he could still see it. So we'll get started. What we got going on here. So whoops, let's see. So here's what we're going to kind of cover tonight. I'm going to go over a little bit of the overview of the current market. I'm sure that's weighing heavily on your mind versus what you see in the news, what you see sometimes if you're looking up Zillow, Realtor.com, and thinking like, oh my gosh, you're seeing a lot of prices dip. We're going to walk you through kind of like the home selling process, preparing your home, some pricing strategies, which is much different today than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, marketing, and then to answer any other questions that you may have and the reason why you came on the call today. Okay. A little bit about Jane and I. You'll probably find out, and for those of you that know us, is that we're very passionate about real estate. Our goal is to really be the local real estate advisors and trusted market experts for everybody, for our friends and clients. Yes, obviously, in order for us to stay in business, we need to sell homes, and referrals are always needed. But at the end of the day, it's much more than that to us. We're all about trying to help out everybody, no matter, whatever service that we could help you with. So we're only a phone call away. It doesn't cost anything for a phone call, and we'll help you answer any questions that you may have. So, and we have like combined experience. I mean, I've been in business and real estate for 30 plus years, along with Jane's been in business too as well, in real estate too. So we're definitely here to help. So let's talk about the market today. So as you probably have heard in the news, through early fall down into winter time, we had interest rates as high as 7.5%, which was at 20-year highs. For some of us, it's been in the market a lot longer than that. We spent a lot more in interest rate than that, but still, for a lot of people who never saw that before, it kind of freaked out. And so the fall and into winter, while we still had a pretty good end of year season, the market itself kind of tanked because the buyers stopped freaking out because interest rates were over double what they were in January of 2022. And so now interest rates have kind of fallen as we got into Christmas, and then after Christmas, January, we're down to about 6.5%. And really, we were down in mid-January, down to almost 5.75. And then when the unemployment rates came out and it was better than expected, our interest rates kind of like hiked just a little bit back up to about 6.5%. We're really tied. Interest rates are really tied to the 10-year Treasury bond market, not so much the short-term interest rates. So as you keep seeing, the government keep raising our short-term interest rates, what we really look at that's a small metric. There's a lot of different metrics that help determine what a mortgage interest rate comes out, but it's really tied to the 10-year Treasury bond market. And then the forecast for this spring is that interest rates are going to continue to drop. And then investors are actually telling us that by January 2024, we could actually see interest rates jump down. I said jump, but actually go down to sub 5%, all the way down potentially to 4.5%. So that could definitely change the market too as well. So I have this really big slide here to kind of drain some information here, but what I decided to do to kind of make it more graphic is I'm going to show you another statistic report that we use on a consistent basis. And this is like a lot of the numbers that I have that I would like to share with you. I want to kind of move this here. So to start off, what the sales price average, the median sales price you're going to see there's like 4 different lines here. And the dark one is the entire Southeast Michigan number. And then you'll see like red is Livingston County, Oakland County is in the green, and then Genesee County is kind of like in that mute yellow gold type of color that we have. And so this is where the actual sales price is in the entire MLS. We're about up 1% versus January 2022, which sounds like, oh, is that all we made money on during 2022? Well, that's actually not necessarily true. It's just a lot of times it's the kind of homes that hit the market in the fall and winter versus the spring and summer. And if you notice by looking at the graph, it's kind of reciprocal of the market. So we take definitely an increase when we get into the spring market, where the value of our homes definitely go up versus what it's doing towards tail end. If you notice, we kind of like fell a little bit during the fall and winter of last year, mainly because interest rates fell and people, the buyers stopped buying, or actually slowed down quite a bit. So a lot of the sellers started freaking out, and there's an array of reasons why so you see some prices that dropped, and it really is because they didn't know if they were going to sell their house. So a lot of them were selling them for less. Also, too, those homes that have not been updated for the last 10, 15, 20 years, they're kind of getting penalized a little bit more versus houses that are freshly updated, where they're still getting sold quickly and for a full price or a little bit more. For January, inventory, new listings that came in were actually down in Southeast Michigan about 5.5% versus 2022. But again, if you look at these numbers, the spring, early summer market is where a lot of inventory hits, and it's partly to the buyers that come out too. Mainly families come out and shop during the spring, early summer, because typically during the fall and winter, they don't like to move their kids out of the school district if they're changing school districts. So you'll see them drop off, and that's why you see kind of the drop off with new listings. Total homes for sale in the market, we're actually up 17.2% versus same time January last year. So even though new listings were down in January, new homes for sale total is up 17%. I want to connect to the days on market so you can kind of see what January did for the days on market. The average in the MLS now, in order to get a home sold, the average is about 43 days. Now, again, if you look, as January of 2022, as we're getting into, the average days on the MLS was 36. So as the spring hits into summer, you'll see it drop dramatically versus the fall and winter. Now, this is the average, not necessarily your home if you need to sell your home in the fall or winter. It's really based on if you price it right versus the condition of your home versus what the market will bear. And that's what will really help you sell your home. So one other one I want to show you here is kind of like the percent of list price to actually getting sold. If you look over the last couple of years, going all the way back to 2020, like right after COVID kind of released us, the market was bearing, at least for the exception of Oakland County, was everyone was getting pretty much whatever your list price was, an average of 100%. There was multiple offers that were starting to hit. Then we really escalated in 2021, where it was up as high as 101% as the whole average. But then in 2022, look what it really did. It went up to almost like Oakland County was up to 102.5% list to sale price. And that was the average, where it was really booming big time. And then now where we're at is about 98% of list in the entire MLS. So it's real important. And like I was making the connection here a few minutes ago, those houses that are really nicely updated, staged well, decluttered, looks really good, that we'll talk about here, is typically getting the best price and selling really quick. I put a house on the market in Grand Blanc, and in 3 days, I've already got it under contract at full list price because They did a great job staging, decluttering, all new flooring. They painted the whole house. They really did the extra things to help them get the price they want. So those little things will definitely help. So those are a little bit about the numbers to show you where we're at. One other little tip as I'm kind of switching over is I would like to share with you that renters have experienced over a 14% increase in how much it costs them in rent versus a year ago. So you're starting to see them emerge and come back out. Whoops, why is that not? I'll get you back. So you're going to see a lot more first-time home buyers this year than you have in the past. I'm still clicking on. There we go. I'm having fun getting this done right here. Let's see if I can get it here. Why is it?
PowerPoint back up.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it. So 1 second here for some reason.
Do you need to share your screen again?
There we go. Now it is. So some reason my screen minimized. So we'll get it back in here. So now we're ready to go. All right. All right, Jane.
Okay. So, we're talking about the process of what you would want to do if you decided you want to put your house on the market and what the different steps would be. And one of the first things to do would be to get, connect with an agent and get a market analysis done. And we want to talk about what a good agent would do for you. And there are some of these things you could do on your own too. You wouldn't have to go with an agent, but if you did, this kind of services they could provide, what could happen and because it all comes down to maximizing your dollar, getting the priorities done, because this is probably the biggest investment that you will have for life. And so we want to make sure and help guide you into understanding how you can get the most for your home. So, when we first come, if somebody's interested in selling a home, we come tour the home and look at it. And then from there, we'll try and do a market analysis or assessment to show you what comps there have been based on your actual conditions, what updates you've done. Not everybody, has gotten everything is reflected in the public records of what work has been done on their house. So we want to actually see the finish of the house and walk through with you. We can give ideas of what things, could do to improve the house, because a house to be lived in versus a house to show to be on the market are two totally different creatures. So usually, at least in my world. So, and then we can look at so we'll take comps from the neighborhood and, make sure that we're comparing, relative square footage, relative same style of home, and look around and we look at the recent history, because you can't go back too far because we have had such seasonal fluctuations in the market. So we really do work hard to find some good comparable ones. And also we have a good sense of what's going on in the market with the current trends and what kind of houses are moving faster than others. And then what we would do is, if somebody was interested in working with us, we'd come back with a market analysis and help really guide the seller to make a strategic pricing on the home. So we're going to kind of go over what pricing looks like. So the things that determine the value of a house, most importantly, are the location, the neighborhood and the schools, the community, the reputation, the architectural style. Like ranches are always in demand. Ranches with crawls or basements is the best, that kind of thing. First floor masters, there's certain things that are more in demand depending on the neighborhood, but in general, updated kitchens and bathrooms are always in high demand. We tend to find that millennials don't like to do the work. They want to walk into a house that's totally ready to move into. So those tend to be the houses that really move the fastest, the ones that are totally updated and you can just walk in and unpack your stuff and put your feet up. But usually when we go to talk with somebody, they've either done the updates or they have not. So from there, the things that you can control in putting your house on the market are the staging and prep of the home, the decluttering, the really kind of taking everything off the counter. We'll go over more of that, but that you can put control. Then also pricing it right, and then doing really good marketing to make sure your house is out there in front of people on social media, getting blasted out there. And so for pricing your home right the first time is absolutely crucial. And we will sit down with our sellers and say, if you list with us, not only, we will go with the price that our seller wants to go with, but we very strongly recommend that as soon as you get it on the market, if you're not seeing the appropriate action, you've got to be open to adjusting it, because pricing it right is so crucial. And again, it's going to be based on the location, the condition, the improvements you've made, the age of the home, and just the market conditions of the time. And, if you work with a really good agent, they really have a feeling of what's going on in the different neighborhoods, what's been moving fast, and pricing it right. So we're going to show a graph next that'll show you kind of, because a lot of people, especially with the way the market was last summer, say, oh, the Smith's house down the street, that sold for $650 and my house is about the same, so I'm going to price it in $7. And if I don't get 7, well, then I can come down. But I've heard the market, I've heard there's multiple offer situations, so I'm just going to go high, and I can always negotiate down. Unfortunately, the problem with that is that if you price it too high, especially with the way people search for homes now, because they put in a price range, people have a budget, they're pre-approved for a certain amount, and they only look up to a certain point, you are by default not exposing yourself to all those potential buyers out there. So you're getting a much smaller percentage of people through the door. And in our market of this last year, a house that sits on the market for too long gets stigmatized just by the fact that it's been on the market for a long time. People think, oh, what's wrong with that house? And if you price it at the right market value, you will get more people in, more excitement, more competition. We're still seeing a lot of multiple offer situations if the house is priced right, and the market will bring you the right price, because the bidders will get in a competition and it'll bring the fair market price. So we have found that oftentimes if a seller goes in too high on price, they end up dropping it much lower than if they had just started at that price. They would have gone above it, if that makes any sense. So Jim, if you want to add to that, I think that's the best I can explain it.
Well, I have an exact example with one of our buyers, Brianne, that is currently looking as a first-time home buyer, and she called me on a house in Commerce Township, and I immediately knew that house was way, way undervalued because I know Commerce Township really well. And I already told her, I says, it was day 0, and I already told her, I goes, look, this house is they actually underpriced it by 20%. Mm-hmm. And I told her that, so she wanted to submit her best offer in there. And by the time, and this is only like the first day, 24 hours into this house that it's in, the house already had 8 offers on the house already. And when I was talking to the agent, they were already surpassed the value of what they were originally hoping to get on the house. So they played the market because it needed a ton of work. So they played the market and it worked out very well. And I don't know how high it's gone yet, because we put in our offer, it's highest and best by Thursday, 5 o'clock, but they immediately was going out. So the total market was going crazy over this house in Commerce Township. So something to think about for sure.
So I think this is you now, Jim. Oh, you're muted. You muted yourself.
Great, thanks. So, sure. Let's talk about prepping your house. This is like my favorite part when I personally go in and usually help our potential sellers get their house ready and prepped. And I have this really great tool. I mean, it talks here about how important deep cleaning the house is. Number 3 talks about declutter. Well, I would like to add declutter is like the number one things, that you really have to do. My buyer in Grand Blanc spent literally a week working a few 12-hour days on the house, decluttering it, and they rented a storage area, 20 by 10 storage area, to get all of their stuff out, and it really paid off in order to do it. But what I do is I'll we actually take you outside the house, and I kind of like explain to you. It says, okay, I want you to think about, I just got you a week at this great Marriott hotel on the top floor, grand presidential suite, 5-star. You walk in, and I want you to think about what that room looks like. Think about what the bedroom looks like, the kitchenette that's in there, the living room, how everything is in its place, that there's nothing out of sorts and very organized. Now I want you to put that vision or that hat on when we walk through room by room, and I want you to walk me through and kind of tell me what you believe you need to do when we get into the living room, kitchen, dining room, bedrooms and all of that. And I find that it really opens our sellers' eyes, and all of a sudden they're taking tons of notes and getting things right. And then I just add and chime in just a couple things in order to prep. So crucial and so important in order to do that. Because if you don't, it just distracts the buyers from actually the nice features of your house. And here's the other thing, makes your house look smaller. So if you really want to open up your space and make your home look large, you really have to declare. It could be, you might even have to take out some furniture. I mean, my client, Graham Blake, had to take out some furniture in order to really make it look huge. And it does work big time. Another thing is remove as much as you can of signs of pets. I mean, one of the struggles is when you're showing a house is that, dogs and cats, you really have to try to see if you can take them with you, because it actually distracts from the showing. Matter of fact, they wouldn't even come in if there's dogs there, but usually cats, if we can. It's just great to try to keep that off and try to depersonalize as much as you can. I believe that few personal photos always works in a home. I mean, there's great controversy over that, but depersonalizing as much as you can is pretty important. I think I covered this as pare down and arrange your furniture, define what the room's uses. So like if you're using your formal dining room as an office, we need to change that back to a formal dining room to help really make a difference for your space. Minimal window treatments, we also want to keep them bright and open. Focus on fresh, pleasant aromas, soft. Decorate your home with some neutral colors if you can. And oh my gosh, a fresh coat of paint does wonders. It really makes a difference in a home and brighten it up with bright colors. Because remember, all of our houses are presently in the lived-in look, and what we want to try to do is change it over to the showplace. Some people choose not to paint, which is totally fine. I can tell you that those that put a quick fresh paint in like the major rooms, master, living rooms, kitchens, and that really brightens it up, and it really makes a great difference. Really good lighting, changing light bulbs, for example, making the space brighter can make all the difference in the world. And then when it comes out to curb appeal, is updating your landscaping, keeping your lawn mowed and keeping it groomed really nice is all essential to doing that. So what we also provide all of our clients is, it's like a 2-pager. It's like a room by room prep in order to get your home ready to go. Do you have to do everything on the list? Absolutely not. But the more you do, the better you are at getting the list price and getting closer to getting your house sold as quick as possible. So these are 2 pages that we do. And we can provide it to anybody that might be interested. We'll give it out for free. It's nothing that we keep secrets. And then, is that me or you? I think that's still me.
That's still you.
So the next thing you do is when you're thinking about all this stuff, you want to hire an agent of what it looks like. So things that we feel that you need to really look at when it comes to hiring an agent. And the one thing I forgot to put in here I'd like to add is don't be afraid to do a Google search on who they are with it. You'll see their, their 5-star ratings. You'll see what they do for the community. I mean, you'll see all of it. And it's really important to really look at, because all agents do business differently. And it's really nice to see that. And next thing is that they typically will walk you through all the listing paperwork and get all the necessary documents signed and get your home on the market and make sure you understand it. Make sure you get that you feel like you're getting top priority and attention to you and your property, that you're not set on autopilot. One of the one of the biggest complaints that I hear from sellers today is regular and timely communication. That's why I have that as listed as number 3. They'll list it and they'll forget you until they get it under contract. I mean, daily, weekly communication is key to helping you sell your home, and what they're doing. What are they doing for you? Work with you and help you get top dollar. One of the things I love to do is I am a great negotiator. I love to negotiate on behalf of our sellers to get the most we possibly can when we actually get a contract. So you want to find someone that's a really good negotiator. Also, getting active follow-up with every buyer prospect that we potentially are looking at your house. Fully customized marketing materials and a marketing plan. Some agents just take personal photos on their phone and put it in the MLS and hope for the best. We believe in a full marketing strategy that we pay for as part of our marketing, from customized marketing materials, a complete marketing plan through social media, as well as a professional photographer, one of the top photographers in the local market that also takes photos of your home, and then provide any and all suggestions they can to increase your home's value.
So I was going to go over what happens on the listing appointment. We like to sit down with our sellers and really understand the situation they're in, where they're coming from, and what's important to them. One of our most important jobs as a real estate agent is listening and being there to support you and wherever you're at in your life, because, you know, sometimes you're selling a house out of joy and great and celebration, you get to move somewhere fun. Sometimes it's not, but wherever you're at, whatever the priorities are, usually, of course, most important thing is getting the most money. But depending on the situation, if the house is in a trust, or if the house, you know, if people are getting a job transfer, sometimes timing is more important, or, you know, there's different factors. So we really try and listen to our sellers and see what their priorities and try and work with them to create a plan to get the house on market the best time for them and the situation they're in, and to help them with that. And we like I said before, we do a thoroughly researched comparative market analysis to look at what has been happening in that direct neighborhood. We try to get super local and focused and make sure that we know exactly where we should, you know, recommend to strategically price the house. And again, ultimately, though, the price of the house is always up to the seller. And, you know, so, but we do our very best to get you the maximum money for your house and to get it sold fast. So next, yep. And then the marketing materials we do, like Jim said, we get a professional photographer. So we do the photographer. We also do, oftentimes we do the video, depending on the needs of the client, what they would like. We also get the professionally designed, customized marketing materials to put out. And, you know, like we have a house this weekend where I'm going to be out with those customized materials, door knocking for an open house neighborhood. And then we, you know, also send out to the neighborhood via direct mail to let people know about what's going on. And then, of course, and most importantly, we have multiple social media outlets to market through, and in addition to the MLS, where we do special customized marketing. And then I think you're doing this part, Jim. You're muted though.
I love that when I try to be quiet and mute and forget. So hey, now that we're live on the market, and now you're getting some showings, and we're potentially doing open houses. So try to be as flexible as you possibly can. You don't want to lose an opportunity for a buyer to come see your house. So the thing that sometimes is tough is that now that you have your space looking great and showroom new, so to speak, now you have to keep up with it like every day, first thing in the morning or throughout the day, in order to do it, to be able to show your house as soon as possible. We definitely work around your needs and what you need are, but the more that you can allow showings, the greater opportunity for you to get it sold quickly. Make sure everyone in your household is on the same page too. That's key. Clear all the items from countertops except for the decored items. Keep your lawn always manicured and watered regularly. Make all beds and style them if you can. Remove and hide trash cans, recycling, compost bins in all rooms. I always tell people is like, if you need to, put it in a shower or something like that if you have to, because behind a curtain, if you don't have glass showers in order to just kind of hide them away from everybody. Hide all cords from electronics. That's really key when you can. And add some clean towels in the bathrooms. And if you decide to, I think I got it here, the next one here. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Okay. So it is here. So during open houses, we also provide regular updates and feedback from the agent. So, you know, if you showed 3 or 4 or 5 showings during that day, we usually wait for feedback within 24 hours to find out, you know, what they say about your home, if they're getting ready to put in an offer. And if we don't hear from them, we actually call the agent because we want to know feedback. We want feedback from other agents. And in the process, obviously start helping you look for a new home in the process. We also make sure that you're not homeless too. We put contingencies in place too as well. So don't worry about that. We can help you find a home as you're getting your house listed, and I promise you won't be homeless. Agents obviously will be scheduling appointments, and it's important to leave on short notice. Yeah, I pretty much covered that from the previous slide. Weekends would generally be the busiest, so be prepped for that. And one of the big questions people ask is, you know, what is the best day of the week to list your home? So, and this is huge controversy. Typically, I like to list homes, like if we're not going to do coming soon for your home, I typically like to go live by Thursday of that week so that we can include a weekend and get the most traffic into your home as we potentially can to maybe spark more than one offer. If we were to list your home on a Sunday or a Monday, and then maybe you have one buyer to put in an offer by Tuesday or Wednesday, you may lose that opportunity to for potential multiple offers because the weekend traffic wasn't there. If we do a coming soon, like we're doing on our house in Bloomfield Hills, we decided to do a coming soon. We went coming soon on Monday, and we're actually not going live until Saturday after the open house. So we're really trying to spark some excitement, which we're seeing some excitement on the weekend traffic for that house already. So, and then I mentioned already that we're pretty much the busiest on the weekends. So, great.
Okay, and I just want to add a little bit to what Jim was just saying about the coming soon. For those that don't know, coming soon means you put it on the MLS, but they can't schedule the showings until they can't go see it until it becomes active. So it's kind of a teaser, and you can put it on like 3 days ahead and say, hey, look, this house is coming up, but so you might want to be excited to see it Saturday, but it's still, Thursday, you can't see it yet. So it's a strategic way of building excitement. And then we will also always work with you guys to, accommodate you in your life and where you're at. So oftentimes if we think a house is, really updated, is probably going to move fast anyway, you might decide you want to put it on the market on Thursday and go stay with family through Sunday. And that will make your life much easier, and take the pets and go do what you need to do so you can just relax and not have to worry about coming back and forth, because the house will stay clean between showings, and we can check on it even for you. So just so, ease of mind with that, with people coming in and out of the house and making your life easier in the process, because it can be a little stressful. So going on to the best case scenario is if you price your house strategically and you've got it really prepped well and it's really, staged well or decluttered and just, kind of done well, you will get a multiple offer situation, which you hear a lot about this year. Not always. Sometimes you just get a really decent offer right away, and the smart thing is to go with that. But there are cases where you get a multiple offer situation, and the terms you should look for, of course, the dollar amount, but you also want to look at the cash versus whether it's financed. And the reason why cash is king in the real estate market is because it's almost guaranteed to close once you get past the inspection. There is if somebody said, let's say, wanted to buy a $250,000 house, but they bid $300,000 for it, but they were getting a loan. If it gets appraised by the bank, where the house is being used as a guarantee on the loan, if it's getting appraised by the bank and it only appraises for $250,000, that gap between the $250,000 and the $300,000, the buyer has to be able to come up with that difference in order to still buy the house. So therefore, there was a problem in the last year with houses on the market where it was not appraising for the price that the market was actually bearing. So it's a little bit complicated why that happened, but the appraisers want to be conservative for the bank to make sure that they can guarantee that that house would be able to sell for that for the bank if the bank couldn't get the loan paid. Long story short, if you have somebody with a cash offer that has $500,000 sitting in the bank and they're offering $250,000, a seller is going to choose that cash offer because there's no worries about it closing for financial reasons, or very few worries. So that's generally why cash offers are considered better than loans. But there are also loans vary greatly depending on who the lender is, how well vetted the buyer has been. We, as experts and have experience in this market and doing this many times, we know which lenders are good to work with, who have really vetted their clients and have really pre-qualified them truly. And so they, lenders have a reputation, and some of them are much better than others. Some in the area are notorious for pre-qualifying, but never checking the pay stub, never confirming the debt, that type of thing. So, and then there's also terms, like we said before, if you need to find a new home, you can ask for up to 60 days occupancy, which means after the house closes, you actually can stay in it. Sometimes you pay for that. Sometimes you get that for free from the buyer, depending on what's negotiated. So those terms are up for negotiated, and there's other things, but those are the key ones. And then you'll also get, when there's an offer in on the house, an earnest money deposit, which is usually about 2% of the value of the house, 1 to 2%. And then, like I said before, there has also been a couple things in this multiple offer situation that you can look at if you do get multiple offers. An appraisal guarantee is something where, if in the previous example, the buyers we're going to buy that house that was $250 as a list price, and they offered $300, they could say, okay, we have $50,000 extra cash in the bank, or mom and dad are going to give us $50,000. We're going to guarantee that difference we can cover with cash if we need to. So there's appraisal guarantees that make sure that if it is a financed purchase, they still would be able to bring the money to the table to close. And then there's also a thing called an escalation clause, which is basically when there's multiple offers, somebody might say, I'm offering $250, and another person might say, I will offer $240, but I will beat any other offer by $5,000 up to $260. So then the offer that was $250, if the agent could go back and show that, then the other offer would be $255. So it's a little complicated, but it's a way of strategically for the buying side for them to be able to pay what they need to still get the home without paying too much. So hopefully if there's any questions about that, those are kind of complicated concepts, but I hope I explained them well.
Yeah. All good.
Yep. And then from once you accept and you choose an offer that you're going to get, the process then is there's a window of time that's agreed upon in the contract where the buyer will do an inspection of the house to make sure that it's structurally okay, make sure there's no major defects that they missed just by walking through and seeing it. Once in a while, a buyer will say, we don't even need an inspection, we'll buy it no matter what, but that's unusual. Most cases, there's a house inspection, sometimes for radon gas, but even if they do find radon, which they do in Michigan, sometimes it's not that expensive to take care of, but they do check for that. And then they often will scope the sewer line. In Metro Detroit, it's mostly scoping sewer lines. Sometimes it's checking the septic, but scope the sewer line to make sure that there's no tree roots in that line, just because that can be such a big potential expense. But the buyer pays for the inspection, and they have a certain window with which they have to, say, okay, we found that the roof is leaking. We want $5,000 in concessions or whatever it might be, and to renegotiate from that point. And also after the inspection, the buyer, during this process, the buyer is also obtaining their financing. So they've been pre-approved for the loan, but they actually have to go apply for the loan and formally get a rate locked and do all the paperwork to go with that. And then during that process, the mortgage company will send an appraiser out to the house to look at it, make sure that the house will appraise for the value, get an appraisal done, and then there's the title work done to make sure that there's no liens against the property that you're selling. and that there's no issues transferring the title. And then I think, were you doing this, Jim?
No, that one's still you.
That's still me. Okay. And then for the inspections, I've talked a little bit about this, but the buyer has, 7 days to do those inspections done. The seller vacates the house while this is being done. The buyer will be accompanied by an agent who will let the inspector in and be there with the inspector. And it can take anywhere from like an hour and a half to 5 hours, depending on, once in a while they'll come back for another inspection, like if they think they saw mold or something, but usually it's all done in one day. Hopefully they do the sewer and the house one at the same time. And again, the buyer can ask for reductions in price based on that. And a buyer can back out pretty much in the inspection period. Jim, I'll let you interject everything, but pretty much for any reason during the inspection period, they can just say, yeah, we didn't like the house. We decided there was too much.
Everything is really negotiable at that point. So it's really whatever the seller accepts and what the buyer is willing to accept at the end of the day. So typically, buyers agents will educate their buyers, say, hey, look, we're not looking for them to fix a plug, but we are looking for major things. And then what they do is they present it. And then as a seller, you are in complete control of what you want to do. You can say, poo-poo, I'm not going to do anything. You could go, yeah, I'll fix this major thing because it is major. So there's different things that you could potentially do, or negotiate half price, or just give them a deal, or actually get the work done. But it's really a negotiation back and forth. But typically, a seller will do anything that's a major thing in order to prevent the buyer from backing out. But it's really there's all these steps and moving parts to negotiate back and forth. So you really are looking for an agent that can help you negotiate on your behalf in order to keep the deal together and also make everything work between the buyer and the seller. So. All right, so the appraisal itself. So the lender gets to schedule the appraisal to verify the price of the home. Nobody gets to choose the appraisal. So since the market crash way back when, 10, 15, 20, wow, it's been a while, back 2008, 2010 time, when it was, regulation came in long and hard, where now lenders, buyers, sellers cannot choose an appraisal. It goes to a central house. There's 3 different appraisal houses around that it goes to, and then an appraiser actually chooses the appraisal, and then they get to go out. They actually cannot talk to the lender directly. They submit the appraisal through the appraisal house, and then the appraisal house sends it to the lender directly. So there's no communication. Now, the listing agent and the buyer's agent can both talk to the appraiser, but the lender cannot, and we have no control over it. So what if it comes in at value? Well, awesome. We just continue throughout the sale of whatever the value comes in. But what if it was to fall short? Then it comes back to negotiation. And like I was explaining to a seller today, is that there's 3 things that a seller can do again. If it was to fall short, you can either say, okay, I'll accept the short appraisal so that we can keep the deal moving. We can say, no, we're not. We want our full price that it is, because that's the price we did. And then the buyer has to come up with the difference. But the buyer could say, nope, I'm backing out of the deal. And then we have to put the house on the market. So keep that in mind. Or we can negotiate someplace in the middle. So there is some control. And again, it's back to negotiation again. And this, once again, is where it's very important that you have the right agent that can help you get the most value that they possibly can with it. So, and again, the buyer pays for the appraisal. You don't pay for the appraisal. When it comes to the title search, just to kind of keep it, easier. I mean, there's title insurance that really protects the deed. Whoever's name is on the deed, to prevent, any encumbrances or liens or anything like that. There could be assessments that's on the property, and title insurance, title companies do that deep research in order to ensure that the seller can provide a clean title to the buyer, and the buyer can provide a clean title to the mortgage company. So what if, something comes up in the title work? Well, it is the responsibility of the seller. So the seller typically has, most contracts are written nowadays, purchase contracts are written where they'll allow the seller to up to 30 days to help provide a clean title, get things cleared up on what it is, and also pay off assessments at closing. So what you also want to find out is if the city has put an assessment on your property taxes in advance to selling your home, because believe it or not, that is still negotiable. If you are not aware about it and your listing agent doesn't help you by doing pre-title work to kind of help you find out whether you have assessments and liens on the property in advance, we do that. We do pre-title just to make sure. And then you get caught off guard, because then the buyer's purchase agreement always says that the seller must ensure that this is done. Well, if you know that there's this $10,000 assessment due to roads or something that's on your property, you can forward that to the buyer, but we have to negotiate that at the beginning of the contract. You can't negotiate it after you find out. It's got to be done at the beginning. So there is ways of workarounds and things like that you can do, but we just got to provide clean title and insurance, and it's a one-time fee. You pay your side of the title insurance, and then the buyer pays their side of the title insurance. So, okay.
Yeah, which is different. When I, back in the day, we used to just pay for title insurance for both sides, but now it's divided for those of you who haven't been in the housing market in a long time. So, and sometimes if a house has been in a family for a really long time, things will pop up, like, a contractor put a lien against the property years and years ago, and the company that put the lien against it doesn't even exist. So you have to chase down whoever owned that company and figure that out if it's been in a family for a long time. So it's always good to do the pre-title work to make sure there's nothing like that to pop up and surprise you. So, and then with the, then for the preparation, getting ready to close, you'll get a cleared close paperwork when the loan's approved and everything's ready to go. You schedule the closing. Usually we still do it with both sides close at the same time. There can be exceptions. There can be ways to that if accommodations can be made, but in general, both sides still go to the closing at the same time. You do a change of, any change of address stuff you need to do, and any turning off of or changing of utilities. You want to cancel your insurance policies on the home and start packing. One thing to never forget, and I may or may not have done this during a move, is forget not to pack the remotes and the keys to the mailboxes and the fireplace, controllers, things like that. Got to make sure those stay with the home. And then the standard, industry standards have the home broom swept clean for the people when they're going to do the final walkthrough before the close. But it's nice to leave the house as clean as you can. And the final walkthrough is simply the buyer coming through before the close and making sure that the house was in the condition it was when they originally walked through and put the offer in the house. And if there were any concessions, any repairs that were required based on the inspection that the seller agreed to do, to make sure that those have been done properly and taken care of. So it's usually a pretty simple process, doesn't take that long, and the buyer's agent will walk through with the buyer just to make sure everything is as expected with the house and nothing is majorly changed with the condition of the house. And then you want to make sure you turn off all switches and valves in the house when you leave. And for the closing itself, you want to make sure you bring in government issued IDs, those keys and remotes that you set aside before you packed, and you'll get a settlement statement. The title will get transferred, and you'll either get a certified check or a wire transfer. The only thing to be aware of is the wires don't always, depending on the funding from the buying side, it may take 24 hours. So you should be prepared to that, but you should know that ahead if it's going to take some time. So.
Well, the big thing to talk about too is even though you get a certified check, a lot of banks will hold those funds in your account sometimes for more than a week or 2 weeks. So if you need your money right away, I'd highly encourage doing a wire, because once they do a wire, even though it's within 24 hours, the funds are in your account guaranteed. So just a little small tip.
Very true. Yep.
So just a little bit about Jane and I. This is why we work by referral. We're actually we don't pay for leads whatsoever. We're all about relationship building, and to us, building relationships are definitely more important than transactions itself. I'm going to show you some examples of what we actually do and the reason why relationships are so important for us. And we work really hard for our friends and clients. And we definitely ask for your help and referrals throughout the process, because that's how we stay in business, is through doing that. So in return, we provide you, we're not like other agents where we're looking for the next deal. We actually focus on our clients throughout the sale from beginning to end. And so to make sure that you get an awesome experience. And that's why we love doing what we do. We're 100% referral based, and we've been doing, pretty well with that. So you get to control our business and providing the service and things that we do beyond. We like to be your local advisor, even when we're not buying or helping you sell. Don't ever be afraid to call us specifically. We're more than happy to answer any questions. If you just say, hey, tell me what's going on in the market in Bloomfield Hills or my subdivision. What about this house 3 doors down from me? What's going on with this house? I get calls like that all the time, and I'm more than happy to help provide that service and whatever information you want. And if you need any local vendors, plumbers, contractors, painters, builders, things like that, we have vetted a lot of people that we know do a great job with our clients that we'd be happy to refer to you if you ever need it. We do things a little bit different. We also, when you're part of our database, we not only love to send pertinent material to you from time to time in the mail, but we also invite our top clients that refer us to our client events. This year alone, we have 4 client events that we're doing. One coming up on March 15th, for example, where it's a very small knit group with our top refers, the one that has really helped our business and take care of it really well, where we have a special dinner and drinks night out for them to spend. We're doing things like spring cleanup, where we pay for spring cleanup and planning on having a food truck and stuff like that out there to help our clients. Then coming up in the fall, we're doing things like we're getting ball tickets for the Miners League out in Sterling Heights for our top clients too. And those tickets are like $25 a ticket that we take care of. That includes food and a great night, fireworks and everything. And then
and that's going to be a fundraiser for the Miracle League. Is our plan?
Yes. Yep.
Charity fundraiser.
Yep. And then our creme de la creme one that we've been doing every year is our pie party. Last year was our biggest pie party event, where we had 160 of our best clients there for the evening 2 days before Thanksgiving. We actually rented the banquet hall at a golf course in Clarkston with free nice food. I swear it felt like we were having a wedding reception more than anything, but it was great food. We had open bar, we had DJ, photographer taking digital holiday photos, things like that, just to get back and say thank you for helping us earn our business. So we're not afraid to give back. And then we also tie charities to all of our events too. We raised $1,500 to Forgotten Harvest over that event last year. So it was all in all just an awesome event. And then last year we also did Avatar. We bought out a whole movie theater for the debut of Avatar 2 that came out. So just some different things that we do where we like to be that different agent. We're not about just take. We're all about giving back to the community whenever we can. So a little bit about us. So awesome. So we're finally there. Any ahas or any questions that we may have out there to the group? Feel free. Did we do that good?
Maybe we covered it all.
So you guys did great.
So
you covered a wide array of topics, very detailed. I think you guys did a fantastic job. Lots of information for sure.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I definitely recorded it so people can also have a copy of the PowerPoint. Any information that you see in there, feel free to email Jane and I at any time. We're happy to provide it free. It doesn't, and certainly won't cost you anything too. So,
Or if you think of any questions after that you want us to look into or anything we didn't explain well enough, because I know things like for me, the appraisal guarantee and the escalation clauses and stuff, it can kind of be a little bit overwhelming. We're so used to this because this is what we do day in and day out. We talk this stuff all the time. But if there's anything that we didn't make clear, because a lot of it's changed too over the years, I'd be happy to clarify on anything or help out. So, and one thing I'd like to add, I mean, when Jim was talking about this is really based on relationships. I mean, for those who have known me for a while, I mean, this is the reason I got into this. It sounds kind of silly because it's real estate, but it was such an emotional experience for me when I was moving after my divorce and going through it. My agent that I had was somebody I leaned on so much and was so good to me and helped me so much with the process. And it's what, for most of it's one of the, if not the most biggest financial decision we'll make in our lives. And I'm passionate about that, making sure people are secure and making wise investments, and and like to help and support them through that process that can be both emotional and financially so important.
awesome. Any other questions out there? All right, well, I thank all of you for being on the Zoom call tonight. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And of course, I wouldn't be remiss if I always ask this at the very end. If you happen to know anyone that's looking to buy or sell real estate, hopefully you would choose us. As I promise, we will take excellent care of them. So thank you so much. And we'll talk again soon. Take care,
Awesome.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.